Our friend Ian Thomsen joins us this morning on the show. Ian, good morning.
Good morning, DA. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for joining us. And let's start with the Celtics. Everybody wants to know what is broken with them. If you could pinpoint what you think the biggest problem with Boston is, what do you think it is?
I think they have too much talent, actually, and it just doesn't complement each other. There's too many young players who are showing by their play, not by their actions, but just by the lack of complementary play, that they're worried about their futures. They're not extending themselves for the team the way they did last year. Their roles don't quite make sense. You know, if this were a normal year, I'm pretty sure Danny Ainge would have made a trade at the deadline and fixed this. He would have traded away a couple of guys, strengthened some things. He would have changed the dynamic, but he can't because he has to hold on to everything for Anthony Davis. So in a weird way, at the opposite end of the spectrum, this is a bit like what the Celtics were going through before they traded for Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. When they were terrible, they lost 18 games in a row, and they had to sacrifice that year because Danny Ainge had to hold on to all his players to make those trades. Well, this year, the team isn't living up to expectations. It doesn't work, really. But, again, he can't fix this year's team because he's trying to build the team for the next several years around the trade for Anthony Davis.
James Harden, 58 points last night. Rockets get a win. And the question is, if James Harden's going to be this good, can the Rockets be dangerous in the Western Conference? What do you think their potential is?
Yes, I think so. And it will really, we know how good James Harden is, but it will depend on how Chris Paul looks over the coming weeks. If you remember, we all remember the playoffs last year. Before Chris Paul got hurt in that series against the Warriors, he was the best player. He was the guy making the biggest plays. And at times they were almost overcoming James Harden. So they need both those guys. And really it's going to come down to Chris Paul, his health, how much he can give them. And then, DA, you know this narrative as much as anybody. It's the narrative of the NBA. The team that keeps getting the door shut in their face. If they keep at it, they finally break through. It's how most teams become championship teams in this league. And the Rockets look like real candidates to do that, you know, where you say, okay, are they really that good anymore? Do they still have a chance after, a couple of years of trying? Well, in fact, those couple of lost years, that is what gives them a chance. It gives them a bit of integrity and resilience, and maybe in the tight moments of games 5, 6, and 7, that makes all the difference. So I would not dismiss them at all.
Ian Thomsen joins us. He's the author of The Soul of Basketball. And in your book, you go deep into the decision and LeBron and the era of the NBA that began. And now we have LeBron in Los Angeles outside of the playoffs right now. Do you think LeBron at all regrets his decision to go to L.A.?
I think it's too early for that. I'm really surprised by the team backsliding. You know, they looked like a close to 50-win team before he got hurt, and then he comes back, and I was just assuming that he would make sure they would get into the playoffs. I guess there's still a slight chance that'll happen, but it's surely going in the wrong direction, and there's more to it than basketball with that team. And maybe the concerns over the power that LeBron has over the future and the way he clearly played a role in Anthony Davis's trade demand, which would have emptied out the Lakers roster if they had gone through. And now he has to go back to all those guys and get them to rally around him when they know he had a hand in trying to trade all of them for Anthony Davis. It's just a natural thing that there might be some resentment. So I don't think we can say yet that he regrets it. It's much too early. But look, he's in a race against Kobe Bryant here. Who's going to be the better Laker? And when LeBron retires, that's the race that he set up by going to L.A. And now he's got to win that race. And so he's got to go out and get Anthony Davis or other free agents to come play with him and extend his career so that he can win at least 2 championships with the Lakers. That's got to be the goal for him.
How can LeBron chase down Kobe with 2 titles in L.A. if Kobe's got 5 as a Laker, as the greatest Laker?
Well, so they each, if you look at Kobe and Shaq, he won those titles with Shaq, and Shaq was the dominant player in the NBA at that time, and Kobe was arguably the second best player in the NBA. But it's almost like there were two eras for Kobe, and then when Kobe was the leader of the team, he won his two. And so now, is LeBron going to be able to win the two and sort of end his career with 5, which is how many Kobe had? And I think there's a way of looking at it where you'll be able to say, that LeBron did as much as the leader of the Lakers as Kobe did as leader of the Lakers. But it's going to mean he has to win at least 2 championships to do that.
Ian Thomsen joins us, the author of The Soul of Basketball, longtime NBA writer. You dedicated a portion of your book to Dirk Nowitzki and his championship in Dallas, and Dirk has had an amazing send-off this year, and yet now we're kind of hearing perhaps Dirk doesn't want to retire. Do you think we get Dirk again next year to play alongside Doncic and Porzingis?
I think that would be a lot of fun for him, but only if he's healthy, and that's why he is keeping the door open. Well, first of all, he's keeping the door open because he doesn't want to make a big deal of himself. In the book, there's a funny story during that year when LeBron was making the TV show of himself in 2010, The Decision, and all these free agents were really drawing attention to themselves. Dirk was a free agent this summer too, and the Mavericks wanted to have a bunch of fans and people meet him at the airport when he came to Dallas that summer to negotiate his contract as a free agent. And when he heard about it, he canceled his trip. He said, "No, I'm not coming tonight. I'll come tomorrow instead," because he didn't want everybody making a big deal out of him. And so, while Dwayne Wade has this last dance thing going and is celebrated in every city, he makes a showing of exchanging jerseys and all that kind of stuff. Dirk isn't asking for any of the ovations he's getting. They're happening organically, and so I think that's the first reason why he's not looking for to make this his farewell season. But the other part of it is, if he could play with Porzingis and Luka, I think that'd be a lot of fun. But only if he's healthy. If he's not healthy, then I think he's done.
Longtime NBA scribe Ian Thomsen joining us here on the show. You can check out his book, The Soul of Basketball, the epic showdown between LeBron, Kobe, Doc, and Dirk that saved the NBA. That's available on Amazon and other places books are sold in both Kindle and hardcover form. Ian, it's always great to catch up, my man. I'm sure we'll be doing it much more as we enter towards the postseason. Thanks so much.